Aerodactyl, the fossil Pokemon. Welcome everyone, I'm Exceptional and I hope you are too. Today, continuing our fossil mini-series, we will be seeing how quickly a solo Aerodactyl can defeat Pokemon FireRed, including the Round 2 Elite Four. Last week we witnessed an outstanding performance from Armaldo against Cradily, but according to the poll that I posted last week, the majority of you believe that Aerodactyl is going to win this overall. Let's jump in and see how the first playthrough goes. There are further details in the description, but my solo challenge rules are as follows. I can only use my starter in battle, no items in trainer battles except held items, no glitches, exploits, or RNG manipulations, and I don't particularly like accuracy or evasion strategies, so I will tend to avoid them. On top of those, in my Versus challenges, I start with the Pokemon fully evolved, not applicable for Aerodactyl, and with the option of a single egg move. I feel this evens out the playing field between Pokemon and opens the door for more interesting strategic options. Aerodactyl is running solo today, but since we're comparing it to the other fossils, I will consider it as part of a Versus series. My egg move of choice for Aerodactyl is going to be Curse. Before I get into that, let's catch up with the footage. We start off with only a single attacking move, Wing Attack, but for the early game that's all we need. We have super effective damage against the bug types in Viridian Forest, and given that we don't have the greatest matchup against Brock, I decide to clear every trainer in the forest. Aerodactyl is part of the slow growth rate, which is exactly how it sounds. Slow. I skip Camper Liam and Brock's gym because I don't want to fight any more rock types than is absolutely necessary right now. After clearing the trainers in the forest, I battled a couple of wild Pokemon to reach level 10 before Brock. This brought us over a damage rounding threshold, and given that both of Brock's Pokemon resist Wing Attack, we need all the damage that we can get. Brock is where we're going to start making use of Curse. When used by a non-ghost type Pokemon, Curse increases your attack and defense by 1 stage at the cost of lowering your speed by 1 stage. Because of our rock typing, Geodude can only hit us for resisted damage, so I set all the way up to +6 attack and defense and -6 speed. I set up an agility so that we still go first against Geodude, though I don't really know why, and at +6 our resisted wing attacks are still doing around a quarter. We get a crit on the 3rd turn taking down Geodude. Onix is out, and on top of making our attacks hit harder, Curse does set up our defense, making Onix's stab or same type attack bonus super effective Rock Tomb deal less damage, because the rock typing doesn't resist rock. I listen everyone! Our setup allows us to take down Onix in 3 shots with him doing minimal damage to us. I was worried that I would have to grind Aerodactyl to level 15 to learn Bite to get past Brock, but thank goodness for the power of setup. I stop in the shop to grab some supplies before starting my journey to Cerulean City. In case you're wondering, as long as I can afford them, I always buy 7 repels here, or more if I choose to do something extra in either Mount Moon or Rock Tunnel. 4 repels gets me through my usual Mount Moon route, picking up the rare candy, and 3 gets me through Rock Tunnel. Aerodactyl carves a path through routes 3, 4, and Mount Moon, where I make sure to grab the Dome Fossil! I hear you out there, Helix fans, I do, but the Dome fans have just had a louder voice lately. Next up is Cerulean City, where I have to face either Rival 2 or Misty. We have a type disadvantage against Misty, so I go for Rival 2. Defeating Brock gave us 2 great boosts. First, he gave us TM39 Rock Tomb, with which Aerodactyl gains Stab, taking out Pidgeotto in 1 shot. The second boost that I don't talk about often is the Badge boost. There are 4 badges in the region that give a 10% boost to select stats, and Brock's Boulder Badge boosts our attack. Combined with our already formidable attack stat, Rival 2's team stood no chance. The other badges that give boosts are the Thunder Badge from Lieutenant Surge, boosting speed, the Soul Badge from Koga, boosting defense, and the Volcano Badge from Blaine, boosting both special attack and special defense. These are not reflected when looking at your Pokemon stats in the menu, so don't forget to add them in. I'm taking a quick pause on Nugget Bridge to appreciate outspeeding and one-shotting this Mankey. Gosh, this thing has been a problem in recent videos. I had some great nickname suggestions for it, like Bruno and Grape Ape in the comments. Keep them coming. I help Bill and come back to Misty's gym to attempt our second badge. We are weak to the water type, but let's see if I can find a way through without having to backtrack. I do equip a Person Berry and save before the fight, but I edit that out to keep things flowing. I'm not that brave to try this fight without saving. I suspect that my best chance through is to get an Oko, or one-hit knockout, so I set up a single Curse on turn 1 while Staryu hardens. A turn 2 Stab Wing Attack takes it down. Okay, Starmie is the big problem here. Because we're at -1 speed, she moves first, and wow, that Water Pulse didn't even do half. Then we get a crit and take out Starmie in 1. Well then, that was an easier victory than I thought, and based on how that went, I would say repeatable. On the SSN, I don't bother collecting many extra items, only the trash can berries, as I will not be taking the time to catch an army of Meowths today. I feel like Aerodactyl doesn't need them. I always do 2 playthroughs per Pokemon in my videos, a first blind playthrough to really experience the Pokemon and find out the tough parts, and then I attempt to optimize and play a second run for a better time. Aerodactyl strikes me as a glass cannon, and they typically struggle with select battles in the late game that require some more planning. In the early game though, like we've been seeing against Rival 3, we can just delete everything that's in front of us with relative ease. Next is Lieutenant Surge, and we find ourselves facing yet another gym leader that we have a type disadvantage to. I don't want to mess around here, so against Voltorb I use Curse turn 1. Surge's Pokemon are fast, but Aerodactyl is a speed demon, so even at -1 we outspeed and OHKO his Voltorb and Pikachu, missing once against Pikachu, allowing it to use Thunder Wave, activating our Cherry Berry. Raichu comes out, outspeeding and setting up double teams right off the bat. Rock Tomb only has an 80% accuracy to begin with, so after several misses and more double teams, I switch to Wing Attack for a better chance to hit. We do eventually hit for around half and get the follow-up for a knockout, thankfully, because things were about to spiral downward. As we just saw, accuracy is a total pain to deal with, but now that we're on Route 9, there's a solution. TM40 Aerial Ace has the same base power as Wing Attack, but comes with the advantage of bypassing accuracy checks, so it'll never miss. I don't teach it immediately, holding on to the TM to optimize PowerPoint usage in the upcoming section, but it's in our back pocket. On the way through Rock Tunnel, I take a small detour to learn Rock Slide from the move tutor in this area of the cave. Rock Slide is going to be our most powerful stab move for the remainder of the run. After the usual mid-game chores, I can now fly back to Celadon Poké Center. I do a little bit of an odd routing choice here, where I grab the PP up and the shoot south towards Erica's gym before challenging the Rocket Hideout. I don't feel like this was an optimal choice, as I have to either fly back to Celadon twice or add 1 segment of bike travel after the gym. Things to ponder as I clear the left side of the gym for the attack and defense EVs. Erica herself is a super easy battle. We now have the type advantage, outspeeding and getting a clean OHKO against all 3 of her Pokemon with Stab super effective Wing Attack. We aren't even really over leveled, just that powerful. I encounter a bit of a problem in the Rocket Hideout when I actually run out of healing items. We got poisoned for the N-th time, and I'm out of antidotes. I do have a Pecha Berry in my bag, but I'd really like to avoid using it in this situation as an out-of-combat type of heal. The poison damage overwhelms us against Giovanni, resulting in our first reset. I take a second reset and then bite the bullet using the Pecha Berry and win the battle, this time only taking a single point of damage. Oh, this game sometimes. You can see that I'm using Bite in this battle. I've only been relying on Bite to handle rock types who usually have weaker special defense, which is why I went with the Adamant nature, plus attack and minus special attack. We are 100% going to be physically focused in the late game, and the loss of power in Bite in the early game and mid game is more than outweighed by the better physical attack later. Remember that Bite and all dark moves are special in Generation 3, not physical. After grabbing the Sylph Scope, I go shopping at the Pokémart in Saffron City, unlocking the Fly location and target Pokémon Tower next. Rival 4 stands in our way, but he's usually a total pushover. Although you can access him earlier, you can't finish the tower without the Sylph Scope, so I always clear the Rocket Hideout before coming here. As a result, we're typically over-leveled and decimate his team. So instead, I usually talk about my nickname here. It's Dinosaur, because Aerodactyl is a prehistoric reptile that flies. Dinosaur. Ha 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 ha. Moving on, after rescuing Mr. Fuji, I make my way straight to Silphco. Here, I'm only going to be collecting the highest value items for us in the proteins, carbos, and rare candies. With our slow growth rate, I am clearing a couple of extra trainers that yield high experience or EVs that I'm interested in, but generally avoid extra battles to this point. In my first playthroughs, I enjoy pressing on the ceiling of what's possible before figuring out what's optimal. Before finishing the Rockets, we have another rival fight. Rival Fivel, as J-Rose11 likes to call him. Fivel! Papa! Oh, American Tail. Against Rival 5, I try setting up a curse on turn 1 because I'm a little worried about his Blastoise. Pidgeot answers with Feather Dance, so now we're at -1 attack, +1 defense, and -1 speed. Having our attack lowered sends us into a death spiral against Blastoise. I chose the Squirtle team for our rival as I felt that although the double Intimidate would be nasty, a single Intimidate against a Blastoise can sure put up a wall that we're weak against. This fight proves me correct. To solve this, I go for Rock Slide immediately this time because Bird Brains needs to go away. Despite the threat it can pose, Rival 5's Blastoise has a terrible moveset and loves using Protect, so I predict at turn 1, setting up my own curse. We then have the damage that we need to take him out with 2 Rock Slides, taking a Water Gun for about a quarter. Exeggcute falls to a single Aerial Ace, then Alakazam is out, sharing the same fate. A final Rock Slide takes out Growlithe. This Giovanni battle has historically caused some pain to my physical attackers, so I'll show what I did here with Dinosaur. Rock Slide is a physical move, but does not count as contacting the opponent, which is the trigger to abilities like Poison Point. I set up a single curse, then take him out with Rock Slide. I set up once more against Rhyhorn because he can't poison me, and then start chipping away with bites. This battle is the last time that we're going to have to deal with a rock type in this way. Against his Nidoqueen and Kangaskhan in the back, the best plan now is to hope that I have enough setup and that poison doesn't eat us alive. Even while using resisted Rock Slides to try and avoid making contact, on turn 2 her Poison Sting gets us a 10% chance, but we do manage to work through without another reset. Stupid poison. I face Sabrina next, and as a fast, powerful physical attacker, she doesn't stand much of a chance against us. Mr. Mime manages to survive a single hit, but we carve through the battle with a combination of Aerial Ace and Rock Slide for an easy 5th badge. On my way to Fuchsia, I stop at the department store, maxing out our protein and Carbos vitamins before progressing down Cycling Road. In Gen 3, they introduced the IV and EV systems replacing Stat Experience, which you've heard me mention a few times to this point. I like to consider these the genetics of a Pokémon, IVs or individual values representing the intrinsic abilities of a Pokémon. If IVs are nature, then EVs or effort values are nurture. IVs are randomized and set from the creation of a Pokémon, but in my runs I use a third-party software to set them to perfect 31s unless I'm targeting a specific hidden power. Dinosaur doesn't need it, so we won't get into that. EVs are acquired by defeating Pokémon or eating vitamins. Every 4 points in an EV is equivalent to having 1 additional point in that stat, roughly speaking. You can only obtain a maximum of 255 EVs in any one individual stat, but vitamins act differently. They increase the EVs of a specific stat by 10, but only to a maximum of 100, less than half of the maximum obtainable value. That's why trying to consume these vitamins earlier than later is beneficial, as you can optimize your EV distribution so that Aerodactyl doesn't end up with a bunch of redundant special attack EVs, for instance. In the Safari Zone, I grabbed a couple of extra items just in case I needed them. TM11 Sunny Day may be useful against water types, and TM47 Steel Wing will be replacing Bite shortly as a better option against rock types. I received some comments about my, we'll call it suboptimal movement. I'm well aware that I bonk a lot and try to make friends with every wall along the way. I do play these runs at 4 times game speed, and running gets a little unwieldy at those speeds, let alone the bike. Next up is Koga. I don't have a Pecha Berry anymore because I used it in the Rocket Hideout earlier. The RNG must be able to smell this, as I got poisoned by Coughing Sludge, turn 1, a 30% chance. That puts us on the clock, but we did set up a curse, so Aerial Ace gets the Oko next turn. I do not want to mess around with Muck, so I go for Rock Slide, and at +1 we have enough damage to get the Oko. Phew! One more Aerial Ace for the next Coughing, and we're over the hump coming into his Ace Wheezing, at just under half health after the poison damage. Rock Slide doesn't get the job done, but because we resist him and are at +1 defense, Wheezing Sludge does a meager 12 damage. The poison damage is doing more. Aerial Ace on the next turn finishes him off. I wouldn't exactly call that buttery smooth, but despite the turn 1 poison, I still did feel in control. Our next badge lies on Cinnabar Island with Blaine. I make my way there and use the Poké Quiz mechanic to skip the trainers in his gym. I'm not doing any additional grinding in this first playthrough before the league so that I can more optimally figure out where and when I want to grind in the second playthrough based on what's needed. Against Blaine himself, I set up a single curse at the very start. We will be dealing with 2 Intimidates, so that curse brought us back to neutral attack. It's enough for a single Aerial Ace to take down Growlithe though. He surprises me, sending in Arcanine next, hitting a second Intimidate and dropping us to -1 attack. I was surprised to see this, although I predict that the AI sent in Arcanine because we resist all of Ponyta and Rapidash's moves. Arcanine at least has Bite. Despite being at -1 attack and speed, we outspeed and OHKO. Aerial Ace doesn't quite get the one-shot against Ponyta, but we clean it up with one final Rock Slide handling Rapidash. I say yes to Bill outside of the gym, dealing with the first piece of the Sevi Island plotline, then come back to finish the gym challenge. Once again, I'm skipping all but the mandatory trainers in the final gym. Against Giovanni himself, you can see our moveset heading towards the league. We're now sporting Aerial Ace, Rock Slide, Steel Wing, and Curse. I try setting up a Curse, but it doesn't quite give enough damage to Steel Wing for the OHKO, so I set up once more before taking him down. Aerodactyl is just so fast that even at -4, we outspeed his second Rhyhorn for another OHKO. Against Nidoqueen, I stick with Steel Wing, which in hindsight was not the right decision. This also gets us, once again, on turn 1, the Poison status. Ugh. I take out Nidoqueen, but we're now at less than half coming into Nidoking. He uses Thrash for barely any damage with our resistance and setup, and I correctly use Aerial Ace for the OHKO. I take out Dugtrio after tanking one last slash, a little dicey near the end there, but we got through with 26 spare hit points. Go us! Our final challenge before the league is Rival 6. Pidgeot is an absolute pain in the behind, so I aim to knock it out immediately with Rock Slide, which we do. His Blastoise has another sad moveset, and yet it's enough to overwhelm us. We are 5 levels lower, and after setting up a single Curse, we're still doing uninspiring damage, as Blastoise takes us down with rain-boosted, stab super effective water guns. I jump right back in because even though we're under-leveled, I'm stubborn enough to not let that stop me. I follow the same turn order against Blastoise, but this time I managed to get a flinch with Rock Slide, evading his second water gun. Otherwise, we probably would have lost here. I've replaced Steel Wing already with Earthquake, which handles both his Rhyhorn and Growlithe in a single shot. Exegcute gets taken out with Aerial Ace, leaving Alakazam in the back. He disables us turn 1, which I predicted, switching to Earthquake, leaving him in red bar. On the second turn, he switches back to Psychic, leaving Dinosaur clinging on at 6 hit points, but we do finish him off. Note to self, be a slightly higher level next run. Dinosaur's first run hits the league doors at 58 minutes and 13 seconds, which comparing it to the first runs of the other two fossils puts us ahead of Armaldo by about 7 minutes and ahead of Cradily by over 20 minutes. Welcome to the Round 1 Elite Four. We start with Lorelei, who is likely going to be one of our greatest obstacles in both leagues. She poses an interesting problem because we're weak to each other. I'm still only level 49, setting up one Curse and OHKOing Dugong with Rock Slide. Rock Slide doesn't quite get the OHKO against Cloyster, so I switch to Aerial Ace for some chip damage and take her out on the next turn. This is actually going decently until Earthquake leaves Jinx with barely a sliver. Come on, is that even a full hit point? She puts us to sleep and takes us out. Alright, this is going to be a pattern in both leagues, a side effect of Pokemon that are very much glass cannons. The timer has advanced by about 6 minutes after a few more resets and some grinding. We're now at level 53 over 2 damage rounding thresholds trying again. The battle goes similarly, but with the better ranges we get the OHKO on Cloyster and Jinx. Lapras falls in one, and then Slowbro comes out, tanking a Rock Slide and takes us out from over half with Surf. I follow the exact same strategy next time, coming back to Slowbro with more health. She goes for Yawn this time instead of Surf, so 2 Rock Slides take out Slowbro and open our way to the rest of the league. Against Bruno, I didn't want to lose a bunch of speed, so I started spamming Earthquakes against Onix right away. In hindsight, it would have been good to set up a single Curse here, but we do take him down. I instead set up my first Curse against Hitmonchan while he uses Counter. I find that if you're using a lot of physical moves, this Hitmonchan will counter you more frequently, allowing us a free turn of setup in this case. +1 stab super effective Aerial Ace gets the OHKO. It then takes out Machamp in one, but misses the OHKO against the second Onix. So I set up once more and take him out next turn. With our speed lowered against Hitmonlee, he now outspeeds and hits a Brick Break for decent damage, but we respond with one more OHKO. Agatha is going to be a bit of a problem for us. Speed is a big factor in this battle, and with our setup move reducing our speed, it's going to take a little bit of finesse to dial it in. Against her lead, I discover that +1 isn't enough, setting up a second curse. I'm using Aerial Ace here because she loves setting up double teams, and Rock Slide doesn't have 100% accuracy to begin with. We've now snapped out of confusion and take out Arbok and 1, but we're back to +1 after the Intimidate. We're confused against Golbat, hitting ourselves once and OHKOing the next turn. Haunter misses Hypnosis, allowing us to OHKO. Her Ace Gengar is last, but as you've been seeing, being slower opens us up to a lot of risk from Agatha. As a result, her Ace Gengar moves first both times and takes us out again. I wiped twice more, and this is what I learned. I want to keep my speed higher, so I only set up a single curse now against her lead Gengar. Then I click and hope that Rock Slide hits through, which it does for the OHKO. I've also used a few rare candies, bringing us over another damage rounding threshold, so I can still roll through Arbok and Golbat, but this time outspeeding Golbat and avoiding confusion. Haunter isn't a one-shot with Aerial Ace using Mean Look. Dinosaur looks down, scoffing at Haunter while it continues making various faces while being healed, and we take it down. Against her Ace Gengar, we hit a massive Rock Slide while her Shadow Ball just tickles us a little bit. She then decides to put us to sleep, to which I say, na 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 na, I have a Chesto Berry, and take her out on the next turn. Every single reset is another opportunity to learn in my books. Dragon Master Lance is next, and here is a quick and lovely reset montage while I explain what I learned against him. In my first attempt, I tried setting up 2 curses to offset the immediate Intimidate from Gyarados. Throw a Rock Slide miss into that, and Lance's Aerodactyl is too much for us to handle, especially when he gets a crit. What did I say about missing? Oh, yeah, it's bad and I can't afford to do it. Okay, cool, let's see what happens when we take out Aerodactyl. Looks like it's a slow death spiral caused by paralysis. Okay then, I've already used quite a few rare candies, but let's just keep blowing through those things. What's the worst that could happen? Spoiler alert, round 2 is going to be awful. I try again at level 60, and this is what the battle looks like now. I set up a single curse, bringing us back to neutral attack, and then fire off Rock Slide. Oh, come on, what is that? Another instance of surviving at 0.75% of your max? Well, fine then, I keep battling along, and then Lance pulls out the big brain play of switching his Aerodactyl into our Rock Slide, getting the OHKO. Okay. Dragonair is out next, and we can't get the OHKO, but this time I have a Cherry Berry waiting in the wings for your Thunder Wave. Ha! Dragonair falls, bringing us back to Gyarados. We're now back to -1 attack because of Intimidate, but since he isn't at full health, we still get the knockout. I have 2 Rock Slides left, so I switch to Aerial Ace to whittle down Dragonair 2, and we find ourselves facing his Ace at -1 attack with just under half health. Rock Slide hits, taking him just low enough to trigger his Citrus Berry, so I have to switch to Aerial Ace to not put him in a heal range while he uses Outrage, taking us to only 28 health. Come on, Rock Slide, don't let me down. We hit and take him out. Alright, one more trainer in round 1 to go. Don't worry everyone, the pain is not over yet. Against the round 1 champion, I don't want to deal with Pidgeot in any capacity, so I use Rock Slide and delete it right away. Blastoise is out. Okay. I set up 1 curse and Hydro Pump, which has 80% accuracy, not 70 like I've mentioned in the past, hits for massive damage. Well, that's not good. Rock Slide does just over half as Blastoise takes us out. Cool, let's try risking setting up against Bird Brains this time. He just goes for Aerial Ace, so we get away with it, taking him out. We get some bad damage ranges against Blastoise, followed by some good ones, so we make it past his Ace still at 193 health. Speaking of damage ranges, watch this. Earthquake takes Rhydon down to Red Bar while he uses Rock Tomb, dropping our speed. The second Earthquake gets the OHKO from full. Damage ranges. Alakazam is faster, hitting Psychic while we take him out. Exeggutor is simple with Aerial Ace, and after the healing from our Citrus Berry, we're at 82 health facing down Arcanine. Rock Slide misses the OHKO again, then misses entirely, opening us up to another reset. Some more resets and more rare candies later, I'm at level 63 attempting again. We only have 3 candies left for the next league. Oh boy. We're at 21 resets, and this is what the battle looks like now. I go for Rock Slide immediately, taking out Pidgeot, then against Blastoise I set up a single curse, then our ranges aren't great, so I dance around him while he heals, after thankfully missing a rain-boosted Hydro Pump that likely would have ended us. We take down Blastoise at full health. We miss the OHKO against Rhydon, but this time he goes for Scary Face, so we're at -3 speed. Alakazam is out and we're still at full health while he puts up a super annoying Reflect. Another few turns pass and we take him down, bringing out Exeggutor. 2 Aerial Aces handle him while we dodge a Sleep Powder, and we're at Arcanine at -3 speed and neutral attack. He outspeeds, hitting Flamethrower and getting a turn 1 burn, cutting our attack further. But thankfully, Rock Slide is still doing half. One more Rock Slide finishes the battle, but oh my goodness. That battle, though successful, still felt like it was a razor-thin victory. I'm gonna have to do some serious testing to figure out the best way through this league for the next run. Dinosaur clocks in with a round 1 time of 1 hour, 20 minutes, and 20 seconds at level 64 with 21 resets. This took 4 hours and 15 minutes of game time. Cool beans! After completing the Sevi Island plotline, we're right back in the action with the Round 2 League. On top of some team and moveset changes, all teams have been leveled up by around 12 levels. Round 2 Lorelei progresses much the same as Round 1, with a single setup of Curse and rolling through her team. Cloyster gives us a little bit of a problem because of its insane base defense, but now that we have the power of leftovers on our side, the fight goes fairly smoothly. Hey everyone, welcome to the Round 2 League! Bruno's Steelix hits 2 Iron Tails and takes us out, while our +1 super effective Earthquake did around 2/3. Okay, in the next battle I say to heck with speed and try setting up more curses because it does set up our defensive stat as well. We're now at +3 attack and defense but -6 speed because of Rock Tombs, but I can now take out Steelix. I start working my way through his remaining team, taking hits along the way because of our speed but recovering a bit because of leftovers. It isn't quite enough though, as once we face down his second Steelix we get taken out again. More resets, and 2 more rare candies later, I try again at level 70 over the next damage rounding threshold. I set up 2 curses against Steelix, missing the Oko, so I set up once more before dropping him. I then complete my setup against Hitmonchan, going all the way to +6 attack and defense while at -6 speed. We're now a little battered, but very set up for his remaining team members as we tank more hits, avoiding a Rock Slide from Machamp and Iron Tail from Steelix, and finally winning the day. Against Agatha, I set up once against Gengar while she thankfully misses a Hypnosis. I can then take it out and her following Misdreavus, so we're coming into her Ace Gengar at full health. And thank goodness for that, as Rock Slide misses the Oko with barely a sliver again, opening us up to 2 Thunderbolts while taking it out. But we're now at 33 HP coming into Crobat after the leftovers. Crobat hits a Shadow Ball, taking Dinosaur to 1 hit point as Rock Slide handles Crobat in 1. Thankfully, we still outspeed Arbok, and despite the Intimidate, our super effective Earthquake polishes off Agatha's last Pokemon. Against Dragon Doctoral Lance, I got paralyzed immediately after missing the range on Gyarados, so I instantly reset and used my last rare candy to bring us to 73 over 1 more damage rounding threshold. I set up 1 curse while our Cherry Berry activates, negating Thunder Wave. Rock Slide misses the Oko again with a sliver, and we're paralyzed. Welcome to the death spiral that leads to another reset. I've been staring at our learn set and decided that unfortunately the best solution here was to take the whiteout and start grinding against the league for more levels until we get a better result. Take a moment to appreciate. 1 hour, 40 minutes on the timer, and 28 resets. And presto! Here we are 25 minutes later, now with 45 resets on the board. I've been busy. Yes, I do count every whiteout as a reset because I deem a reset to be defined by every time my main Pokemon's health is fully depleted, even if it's by poison damage in the overworld. In my attempts, I chewed through a lot of berries unfortunately, so I'm down to my last lum without going to find some more. Now at level 85, we see a Lance battle that goes so smoothly you wouldn't have guessed that I've been stuck here for almost 30 minutes. A single setup of Curse and then a barrage of Rock Slides pretty much handle his team while taking minimum damage. Trust me though, missing some of these ranges was an absolute death sentence. With the power of editing in my corner, I'm sure that it wasn't too bad for all of you watching, but finally seeing the Round 2 champion battle feels really good to me. I don't want to lose a bunch of speed from Heracross's Rock Tomb, so I take it out immediately with a stab 4x super effective Aerial Ace. Arcanine is out intimidating, so I set up 1 curse bringing us back to neutral. Rock Slide takes him out. 2 Rock Slides take out Blastoise while he sets up the rain, then Earthquake puts Tyranitar into a healing loop, but I'll take the opportunity to regain some health with leftovers. I'm very much over this league. Alakazam removes our recovered health with Psychic while Aerial Ace misses the Oko, but then a crit Earthquake finishes him off. Against Exeggutor, Aerial Ace misses the range for the 2,000,000th time, but Sleep Powder misses and Exeggutor wasn't that threatening anyway. Oh boy, we finally cleared that second league, but wow, do I have my work cut out for me finding a better strategy for the second playthrough. Dinosaur clocks in with a round 2 time of 2 hours, 7 minutes, and 50 seconds at level 86 with 45 resets. This took 6 hours and 39 minutes of game time. Alright, while the early game starts playing, let's quickly compare how Dinosaur did in its first run against the other 2 fossils that we've explored so far. I'm comparing all of the first playthroughs, not their final results. Armaldo had Water Gun, which made its Brock split very difficult to beat, but then at Misty, Dinosaur took and held a commanding lead through most of the run. At the end of the round 1 league, he was still leading by around 2.5 minutes, but that round 2 league was so rough that we lost by nearly half an hour to Armaldo, still beating Cradily by 9.5 minutes. But as we know, it's the second playthroughs that really matter. Aerodactyl's early game remains largely unchanged aside from one thing. Instead of battling a few wild encounters, I instead veer west to challenge rival 1.5. Aerodactyl is so wicked strong that we can take him down despite only being level 5 still for some quick experience. I then go through Viridian Forest, clearing every trainer, skip Camper Liam, and face Brock from behind. It's part of the strategy. Just kidding, I have fat thumbs sometimes. It's the same strategy as last time, setting up 6 curses against Geodude and then spamming Wing Attack until we win. I take the same route through Mount Moon, making sure to grab the Dome Fossil. Next week, we're going to figure out which of these 2 fossils really is superior. I didn't mention Aerodactyl's ability Rockhead last run. Rockhead prevents recoil damage, and I was trying to find a way to work it in, but the best option would be Double Edge right before the Elite Four. I actually preferred keeping Aerial Ace in both runs, so we won't be seeing any use from Rockhead today. I kick Rival 2's butt, save Bill, and face Misty. I made sure to clear just enough trainers to be at level 20 coming into this battle. I use turn 1 Curse while Staryu hardens. We then get the Oko with Stab Wing Attack. With our speed reduced by 1, we're right in the pocket where Starmie outspeeds us, so I use Rock Tomb turn 1, tanking a Water Pulse for about 2/3 of our health. Rock Tomb lowers Starmie's speed by 1 stage though, so now we're faster and finish her off with Wing Attack. Easy peasy. I defeat Rival 3, and then we face down Lieutenant Surge. I follow the same strategy as last time, setting up a Curse on turn 1, then using Rock Tomb to handle Voltorb and Pikachu. I feel like the 80% accuracy is worth getting the one-shots and avoiding making contact. Raichu enters with our Cherry Berry intact. He starts setting up double teams while I start missing, repeatedly, so I switch to Wing Attack. On the last turn, Raichu hits Shockwave, leaving us at only 6 hit points, but we connect with Wing Attack, taking him down. I follow roughly the same route as last time, only this time after the mid-game chores I head to the Rocket Hideout first. I defeat Giovanni, then head south defeating Erica, Rival 4 in Pokémon Tower, and we find ourselves entering Silphco at just under 30 minutes. Aerodactyl is blazing through this run, but the earlier parts of the game were not where we struggled. Nothing aside from that change in order in Celadon has differed from the last run. I collect the same items and face down Rival 5. I'm using Blastoise's Love of Protect as my opportunity to set up, taking out Pidgeot immediately with Rock Slide. Blastoise doesn't go for Protect, hitting Water Gun instead as I set up 1 Curse. This results after a few turns with Aerodactyl at only 6 hit points again, but Blastoise knocked out. We outspeed an Oko Exeggcute, Alakazam uses Future Sight because it's his only attacking move as we take him out. Come on Rock Slide, it hits! We take down Rival 5 by a razor-thin margin. If we hadn't stood behind Brock earlier, I'm convinced we would have lost here. We're not done with Silphco yet, as Giovanni is always trouble. Today it's double! I set up once against Nidorino, then go to Oko with Rock Slide, and it misses! And that was our last one. I'm forced to switch a Wing Attack, getting affected by Poison Point immediately, of course. In combination with Rhyhorn's Rock Blast, the poison damage overwhelms us and we take our first reset of playthrough 2. Alright, you dingus, I'm not dancing around with you anymore. I equip my Pecha Berry and go for the same strategy, this time not missing Rock Slide. Bite handles Rhyhorn, with him not using Rock Blast again, thankfully, and then 2 Wing Attacks barely don't knock out Nidoqueen, getting poisoned on the second turn, but we have a Pecha Berry, ha ha ha. I knock her out and then deal with Kangaskhan in the back. It's kind of lame not having that berry for Koga, but we're going to be doing some training soon, so we'll be facing him at a higher level this time. I dig out of Sylph and fly over to Celadon City really quick. I felt one of our biggest issues last run was not hitting damage ranges, so I want to focus on optimizing our EV distribution. I feel like a little bit of time investment now, buying vitamins, will be worth it later. I then defeat Sabrina, and after digging out of her gym, I head next door immediately to the fighting dojo. I bought the vitamins before doing this because since the vitamins cap at only 100 EV points, I wanted to be at that cap before doing any extra grinding. The dojo is dense with experience and attack EVs. Then I go down Cycling Road, clearing every trainer on the way down for more experience and attack EVs. I stop midway to teach TM40 Aerial Ace because I ran out of Wing Attack PP. Routing! Koga is next, and because of our extra training, we face him at level 46 instead of 43. Those extra levels make this battle go much smoother than last time, though it helps that we weren't poisoned until later in the battle. It's cool, we actually defeat Koga 1 second faster than last playthrough, but with having done additional grinding and optimized our EVs way more. In Blaine's gym, I choose to defeat every single trainer along the way. The Growlithe line provides more attack EVs, while everything else here provides speed EVs. Despite how fast Aerodactyl is, I want to invest some effort into speed as well because we're using Curse. This is also a reasonably dense area to get experience, which we still need a bit more of. I make the mistake of coming right into Blaine without healing or saving. I could have at least healed, but as it happens we get away with it because after a single use of Curse, Rock Slide pummels his team. Not quite against Arcanine, but after mixing in its Steel Wing, it's all good. I help in the Sevi Islands, then return to Viridian City to complete the gym challenge. I defeat only the mandatory trainers plus 1 extra black belt to squeeze out any extra attack EVs that I could muster. Against Giovanni himself, I lean on lessons learned last run, setting up twice with Curse while Rhyhorn uses 2 Scary Faces. Unreal, we're at -6 speed and still moving first, OHKOing it and the following Rhyhorn with 2 uses of Steel Wing. Nidoqueen is next, and with our extra levels and attack EVs, we get the one-shot this time, of course getting poisoned. We can slash through the rest of the battle though, ending with a similar result to last time, at 37 health instead of 26 though. I then defeat Rival 6 easily and a couple of extra trainers in Victory Road, again targeting easy attack EVs and experience. This cool trainer gives a total of 9 attack EVs and 1 defense. Not bad for 21 seconds of work. I save the Juggler for last to avoid his EVs, but his battle levels us up to 55, completing our grinding. For reference, in my Aerodactyl's final EVs, I managed to get 171 in attack and 121 in speed. Not bad at all. We hit the league doors around 1.5 minutes behind the last run, but with all of my grinding complete. Kicking off against Lorelei, I find myself laughing a bit. I fully expected her to be one of our greater challenges in the league, but Rock Slide absolutely hammers her team. It also helps that compared to last run, we're 11 levels higher than our first attempt. Because of a flinch against Slowbro, we managed to get through the first league battle without taking a single hit. I'm rocking the same league moveset as last time: Rock Slide, Aerial Ace, Earthquake, and Curse. This time against Bruno, I use Curse turn 1 against Onix and then start going on the offense. Earthquake OHKOs Onix, and because of our higher level, we then OHKO Hitmonchan and Machamp with Aerial Ace, another Earthquake for Onix 2, and then the speedy Hitmonlee sneaks in a Brick Break while we answer with another Aerial Ace OHKO. It's time for Agatha and my flub of the day. We start progressing through the Agatha battle, setting up a single Curse against her lead and taking it out with Rock Slide. We then keep carving through her team, outspeeding and knocking out Arbok, Golbat, and Haunter. Her Ace Gengar outspeeds us, putting us to sleep, and that's what I forgot, to equip my Chesto Berry. Aerodactyl snoozes away while Gengar eats our remaining health bar. I come right back in and check out how it goes with a Chesto Berry. She puts us to sleep right away again, activating our Chesto, while Rock Slide takes her under half. She goes for Hypnosis again, thankfully missing the second one, while one more Rock Slide takes down her Ace Gengar. Against Lance, I start by setting up Curse turn 1 against Gyarados. I then OHKO with Rock Slide. Aerodactyl is outspeeding and hitting super effective Ancient Power for about a third of our max health. Rock Slide takes it out. Here's where the lessons of last run reveal themselves as Dragonair paralyzes us and our Cherry Berry activates, allowing us to knock it out and the following Dragonair not having taken any more damage. Rock Slide misses the OHKO against his Ace Dragonite, but he locks himself into Outrage, hitting for 70 damage, but now he can't heal. Aerial Ace finishes him off. Alright, it's time for the champion, and this is one of those rare times where I felt playing for the luckier strategy was worth the time risk versus grinding for additional levels. All I need is for Pidgeot to not use either Sand Attack or Feather Dance. In my first attempt, I try pushing through despite taking a Sand Attack, missing against Blastoise a couple of times, and he takes me out from almost full with a rain-boosted Hydro Pump. 2 more resets later, I get what I was looking for. We move past Pidgeot with our accuracy intact at +1 attack and defense with -1 speed. We get a little lucky against Blastoise this time, getting a crit for the Oko, but at this health he typically would go for Rain Dance, as an unboosted Hydro Pump would not have knocked us out. Earthquake gets the Oko against Rhydon, and then Alakazam takes us to half health with Psychic while we knock him out with Aerial Ace. Another one, Oko's Executor, bringing us to Arcanine in the back. Because of the Intimidate, we just barely miss the one-shot with Rock Slide, leaving him in red bar. He heals while I add in some chip damage and then go for the knockout with 64 health remaining in the end. Thankfully, he did not burn us this time. Using this strategy, I expected a few resets against the champion, and luckily we didn't lose much time as it was largely dependent on what Pidgeot did. Aerodactyl clocks in with a round 1 time of 1 hour, 6 minutes, and 53 seconds at level 63 with 5 resets. This took 4 hours and 9 minutes of game time. Before entering the round 2 league, I used my remaining rare candies to bring us all the way up to level 76. This should give us level 78 for the champion, but it's really Lance that caused the most problems last time. I do have a solution for him, and regular viewers of the channel will probably know what I'm about to do. Kicking off against Lorelei, we see a similar battle to every other Lorelei fight. The ability to one-shot the majority of her team with super effective rock slides makes this battle a cakewalk. We got a weird combination of good and bad luck at the start getting frozen by Dugong, but then thawed immediately, so it's fine. In the odd case that Rock Slide misses, our leftovers usually recover us enough that by the time we get to Piloswine, we can knock him out in 2, tanking whatever he might throw at us. Unless he freezes us too. That happened in testing. My solution to grinding a bunch in this league was to learn good old reliable Substitute. Steelix can break our sub with a single Rock Tomb, so I lead with Curse to set up our defense and attack. I set up a decoy and finish my setup so we're at +3 attack and defense at -4 speed from Rock Tomb. Earthquake Okos. Hitmonchan was going for counter here, allowing us to move first and take him out with Earthquake. EQ then Okos Hitmonlee, taking some damage, Machamp taking a bit more, and then I outspeed and Okos Steelix with 1 more Earthquake. Aerodactyl has absolutely fantastic speed, so it's no wonder that we outspeed Agatha's lead Gengar, setting up my decoy. Substitute sacrifices a quarter of your max HP and sets up a decoy with an equivalent amount of health to the amount that you sacrificed. It then blocks damage and status effects, making all of Agatha's trolly shenanigans like Hypnosis and Confusion completely useless. We even avoid the Intimidate from Arbok. We finish off Agatha at full health. Substitute also helps immensely against Dragon Doctoral Lance, who is actually the reason why I brought it into this league. We witnessed needing level 85 to clear Lance last time, but Substitute allows us to do it at 77. His lead Gyarados wants to paralyze us so badly with his Thunder Wave falling ineffectively against our decoy. I set up 3 curses with impunity, bringing us to +2 attack because of the Intimidate, and then take out Gyarados with Rock Slide. Our decoy then breaks, blocking a critical Ice Beam from his Ace Dragonite while we Oko it. Before starting the battle, I taught Fly over Earthquake, using it here against Kingdra. I did this for the champion, but felt like I could get some extra use here, as it has slightly more powerful than Earthquake, including Stab. We get the one-shot, and then 1 more Rock Slide takes down Aerodactyl, with a final Stab super effective Rock Slide firing off and handling his Lesser Dragonite in the back. Cool, so in this champion battle, I actually want our Glass Cannon Aerodactyl to incorporate a little bit of stalling. I set up Curse turn 1 while Heracross uses Rock Tomb. It's the same story as against Steelix, where without our defense being set up, he can break our decoys in 1 shot. I can then set all the way up to +6 attack and defense, but our speed is trashed at -6. The decoy allows us to knock out Heracross with Fly at full health, fully set up. It's funny because that amount of setup wasn't for our attack stat. Well, not entirely. I wanted to get to +6 so that Arcanine's Iron Tail wouldn't break our decoy to protect us from Blastoise as I OHKO with Rock Slide. Blastoise chooses Rain Dance instead of Hydro Pump, so I get another one-shot with Rock Slide. Tyranitar is finally the one to break our decoy with Thunderbolt as we OHKO with, you guessed it, another Rock Slide, because Rock doesn't resist Rock. I'm gonna drill that into my brain yet. Alakazam sets up Reflect, but that shouldn't matter because of how set up we are. Rock Slide takes him out. This is the last bit of risk in the run as Exeggutor misses Sleep Powder and we fly up, knocking him out in one shot on the next turn. We didn't have to stall much in that battle, but in my testing I found that if Heracross did more damage, then we could stall with Curse and Substitute, just wasting power points to recover with leftovers. It made the whole thing possible and reliable. Aerodactyl clocks in with a round 2 time of 1 hour, 22 minutes, and 2 seconds at level 79 with 5 resets. This took 5 hours and 13 minutes of game time. Let's see how Aerodactyl improved between runs before comparing it to the other 2 fossils. We started gaining time right off the bat against Brock and continued gaining time throughout. There was a fluctuation in the 4th badge because I did it after the Rockout hideout this time, but by the end of the gym challenge we were about 1 minute behind the previous run, but had completed all of our grinding, leading to a 13.5 minute increase in our round 1 time and a staggering 45 minutes and 48 second increase in round 2, 7 levels lower with 40 less resets. That's why I love doing the second playthroughs. I always learn so much in the first that I can then apply for a much better time. Against the other 2 fossils, Aerodactyl clocks in just over 5 minutes behind Armaldo. Despite Aerodactyl's incredible performance, Armaldo's remains a cut above. Comparing the second playthrough times, Aerodactyl gained a lead earlier in the game but then lost it as we approached the final badges and couldn't quite get it back. Armaldo remains the fastest fossil so far. On the tier list, this places Aerodactyl just ahead of Salamence and the other pseudos, beating Salamence's finish time by around 1 minute. I put Aerodactyl at the start of the A tier because despite this being an incredibly good performance, it wasn't a legendary one. I want to give a special thanks and shout out to those of you who are generous enough to support the channel through YouTube memberships and Patreon. You are all exceptional. If you're interested in supporting the channel as well, you can find links to these in the video description. If you've made it to the end of the video, thank you so much. We will be continuing our Fossil mini-series next week with a climactic showdown to answer the ultimate question: who is superior, Lord Helix or the Dark Lord Dome? If you feel like I've earned it, consider leaving a like and comment about the run, what you'd like to see in the future, or just to say hi. Bonjour! As always on my channel, substrat's best strat, so if you'd like to keep up with my content in the future, be sure to hit that subscribe button and ring the bell. It really helps my channel to grow. I can't wait to see you all next week for the final piece of the Battle of the Fossils. Until next time, take care everyone.